Welcome back to the Mortal Realms. So I'm doing this issue slightly differently to the way I usually would. So I'm showing the full assembly and the painting guide, albeit very sped up. Now the reason I wanted to include this is because I consider this issue to be very different from other ones, just because of what it is. Now the terrain from this issue, as far as I'm aware, has only ever been available in the now out of print Warcry original starter box. So although this isn't one of those mega issues that's got 10 models in it and that kind of thing, I'll imagine that this is a fairly sought after issue. In terms of the general assembly, there's no major issues or anything like that. There's not many individual parts. The legs are a little bit weird to put on because there's not much support for them and that kind of thing. However, generally everything is a-okay. I'm not a big fan of the sprue connections on the top of the head, so where that's connected to the frame, they're connections were quite thick, so you can see quite clearly after it's painted where those sprues originally were. However, most of the problem is most likely due to how close I've clipped them from the actual piece and my ability with mold line removal. Now in terms of the actual painting for this terrain, the guide is pretty straightforward. There's not that many different colours. I'm not a big fan of the overall result. I'm just adding Baneblade Brown to the wooden areas here first. Now I applied that with the airbrush initially, but for the Corax White, I don't know what it is, but for every tub of Corax White I've ever had, it's always been pretty lumpy, so I've always been a little bit wary of putting that through an airbrush. But either way, for the Baneblade Brown and for the Corax White, I applied 3 thin coats. Now one thing that I did do which was separate is that all of this was primed black before I started. I don't like the idea of painting straight onto plastic like they show you in the paint guides in the magazine. But what I did is, for a test, I decided to leave one part of the wooden platform unprimed and just painted straight onto the bare plastic. So if you look in the top left hand corner, that part of the wooden platform has got no primer on it whatsoever. So I just wanted to paint on there just to test it, so as A, I could find out how easily it goes on, and B, if I could find out how easy it is to chip or how well it holds up to just general use. Now that is the part that I am painting on camera at the moment. It went on okay. I did have to come back and touch it up a few times just to make sure I got a good coat on there. It did seem to be slightly shinier than the stuff that I'd primed as well, but to be fair, I had primed that black, so it doesn't surprise me that it might be slightly lighter anyway. Next up, I coated the wooden platforms completely in Nuln oil, so every single bit was covered, even the bits I know we're going to be painting like the skulls and that kind of thing later. I covered the lot. I didn't do a massively heavy wash with it at all. I was quite liberal with it. Nuln oil can be very, very dark, especially if, you know, we're painting wood here, so we do want to, when it's done, for it to actually look like wood. So I didn't put on a particularly heavy coat whatsoever. But yeah, I gave it a decent coating. When I painted the piece where it is unprimed, I had to go back and add a little bit of Baneblade Brown again, just because some of that paint in the original paint jobs had actually come away slightly. So I had to retouch with Baneblade Brown and then carried on with the Nuln oil. You can see from the lighting that this is switched to the following day. So the rest was recorded in the evening before, but today I've actually managed to get some daylight on. And so the first thing I'm doing is chucking Agrax Earthshade all over the statue's head. I again took the decision not to go particularly heavy with the wash. I just gave it a decent coating, but didn't go back over, and I soaked up almost all of the pooling that was in the recesses, just leaving a small amount behind. While that was drying, I started to add lead belcher to all the metal areas on the wooden platform. So there's lots of nails on there, there's a few extra bits that you can see me painting there that are on the stand. And then when all that was dried, I added some Nuln oil to all of those areas, followed by a highlight of Stormhost Silver. While that was drying, I then went in and did a base coat of Rykenor flesh over all of the skulls. And when that was dry, I gave that a wash with Agrax Earthshade. The final part for the wooden platforms was to go in and dry brush pallid witch flesh onto all of those skulls. And then finally for the statue's head, I went in and painted all the gold details with Retributor armour. Now, this is part which I actually don't like. It's the bit I don't like about this paint guide the most. I think that those bits should have stayed as stone and not been coloured in gold. But anyway, so a base coat of Retributor armour on there. I just went for one coat. It had a light background already and I didn't want to overdo it with that gold effect. Once that dried, I added a wash of Rykenor Flesh Shade, and then once that dried, I dry brushed Stormhost Silver over the top. So that is the full paint guide for this issue. I'm hoping they come back to it later on with a few more details. It's pretty dull at the moment, I have to say, especially if you look at the rubble around the bottom of the statue. That is literally just Corax White and Agrax Earthshade. So I hope they do a little bit more with that. Okay, so that is the build and paint done. So I'm overall pretty happy with it. It is too dark for my liking, but I could have fixed that by doing another coat of Baneblade Brown. There you go. So yeah, I thought it was going to be okay until I applied the Nuln Oil, and it really did darken it down again. The skulls and that kind of thing look okay. So that is... Ooh. So yeah, all in all, it's all right. Now the reason I left this piece separate is because when... Let's have a quick look at this before I go through it actually. It looks all right. Okay, so the reason I've kept this piece separate is that whenever I'm playing, this section here, obviously got the ladders going up to it. Now I like to have the option of having this next to some other terrain, see, allowing access through here onto another higher platform. So that's why I've left that separate. I will go back and magnetise that at some point as well. So that is the model. I do like it. It is, I like the big skull. It is very cool. And it is, you know, it's an uncommon piece of terrain, since it's, as far as I'm aware, please tell me if I'm wrong, only available in that Warcry starter set. So let's get into the magazine. So your terrain collection expands with the fallen Sigmar statue. This model consists of two main parts, the statue head and a structure built upon it. By the looks of all those spikes and skulls, it was likely the followers of Chaos who made it. The ruins of Azurite society cover the mortal realms, and this piece clearly has a new purpose. Once you've built and painted it using our easy to follow guides, you'll have an exciting battle plan to use it in, along with the core rules explaining how to use battle plans and claim objectives to win your games. Okay, so this week's magazine portion consists of Anvilgard, one of the cities of Sigmar, and of Hammerhall, Aksha. That's another city. Okay, then we've got more information on slaves to darkness. Under the watchful gaze of the dark gods of chaos, the slaves to darkness carve their way through any who stand before them in pursuit of glory. They are led by some of the most powerful warlords of chaos. These great champions of darkness are forever seeking new challenges and conquests. The Pantheon. The slaves to darkness worship the gods of chaos, but in these powerful deities they see an opportunity for power unbound. As they grow in power, many champions of chaos find that their personality draws them towards a single one of the ruinous powers. Others, however, offer prayers and service to all the dark gods, reasoning that by pleasing all of these unholy deities, they will be granted the greater power. They will be granted greater power. So we've got Ascension. Nearly all slaves to darkness seek to achieve immortality by ascending to demonhood and becoming a demon prince. The road to such power is long, bloody, and almost always lethal. And then you've got Spawndom. Those whose bodies and minds cannot bear the gifts of the dark gods suffer a terrible fate. These become chaos spawn, near mindless mutants who feel nothing but rage and pain. And then it's just got some more stuff here. It's mainly painted stuff. Chaos stored on Carcadrak there. No Chaos spawn actually in any of these photos. Okay, next we've got the Realmgate Wars, the quest for Ghal Maraz. As Sigmar's armies battled to seize control of the Realm Gates, the God King's attention was drawn to Chamon. There in the eldritch fortress of Anvrok, they are weapons so powerful that he would sacrifice almost anything to recover it. Ghal Maraz has slain many mighty foes. During the Battle of the Burning Skies, Sigmar used his hammer to destroy the 4 demon kings known as the Tetrarchs of Ruin. There are few weapons as potent and as deadly as Ghal Maraz, the Great Shatterer. Okay, then we've got Wrath of the War Queen. In the wilds of Halost, the Dark Oath War Queen Viscera Emberi and her band of bloodthirsty warriors plunder the kingdoms of both the living and the dead. Nagash, angered by her arrogance, has sent his armies to bring an end to her reign of terror once and for all. Then we've got information on battle plans. Battle plans are included in many Warhammer Age of Sigmar publications, including issues of Mortal Realms. They are designed to provide exciting and balanced battles for you to play. This section of the core rules explains battle plans in depth and includes a battle plan for you to use. So here's the battle plan. It's given us First Blood. 2 armies meet upon an open battlefield. Each must strive to destroy as many of the enemy as possible. Whoever first spills the blood of their foe will be inspired to fight all the harder. The player in command of the army that first slays an enemy model receives 1 extra command points. This is a glorious victory. The battle continues until one player has no units left on the battlefield, or at the end of the 5th battle round should this occur sooner. Okay, and then it's got a tutorial on how victory points work. Then we've got our battle plan for this week, Closing the Gate. Chamon is a labyrinth realm of hanging valleys and drifting land masses, interconnected by strange portals and shimmering realm gates. The Nighthaunts have made use of these passageways to outflank their foes. So we've got a lot of tokens this week actually, battle plan tokens. Below are objective control and victory point tokens to use in your games. We could recommend gluing them down to some thin card before you cut them out. Okay, cool. So we've got 2 mats stuck together on the reverse side. We've got objective based scenario, so 1 in the middle and 1 either side here. The Nighthaunt, we have the Knight of Shrouds on Ethereal Steed, a Tomb Banshee, a Spirit Torment, 2 Chainghasts, 4 Minor Banshees, 10 Dreadside Harridans and 10 Chain Rasps, up against the Stormcast Eternals, Lord Arcanum on Gryph-Charger, a Knight Azeros, 3 Prosecutors, 3 Liberators, 5 Sequitors and 3 Gryph-Hounds. So a very large so larger forces there than we're used to as well. Okay, next week we've got the Fast Riders. So these are, I believe, the models from the original Warhammer Underworlds, Shadespire. So the Stormcast Eternal models there are these ones here. And in the following week, we've got Rykenor the Grimhailer. This is a brilliant model, probably one of the best that we'll get in this whole series. Also looks at Blades of Khorns and Combat Phase tutorial. So that's it. That's it for issue 46. A brilliant one. I like the terrain. Not a big fan of the paint guide, but in general, I like, all pretty good. Actually, it's quite weird that the painted version of this terrain actually looks nothing like it does in the image on the front cover. But there you go. It is what it is. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. I will see you in the next day or so when I'm doing a video on Premium Kit number 3, Orruk Warclans. I'm working through this at the moment. I've built some and highlighted a few. I'm going to do some assembly and maybe some painting. If this is received well, I'll start doing the painting and assembly guides more in the videos. So if you enjoyed this more than my usual content, then please let me know in the comments and I will keep going with it. If you didn't, again, let me know and I'll I won't waste my time on it. But there you go, guys. Thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you later.